So, so today we are going to discuss some of the functionality about DButils as it plays a major important role when you're working with the notebooks. So it's very important to understand the different options and different um, libraries available along with this. Okay, so now FS, right? So for FS, I think we discussed about uh, how the file handling happens, right? So FS is basically to manipulate the Databricks file system from the console, right? So we discussed, for example, let me go back to that workspace. Okay, so we discussed how we can see the DBFS and what are the different settings we need to make to look into the DBF, and then we can see the file system, file standard, file store, what the files we have, right? Under tables, we have created some tables and all. Okay, so now how do we access this using this? Uh, okay, so how do we access this one using these FS functions, right? So with the help of FS libraries, we can access that. Okay, for example, let's see. Right, so I want to list the. So as you can see, we can copy the files. There is a CP option is available to copy the files between the directories, and there is another head option is available to return the to read the header of the file if you have anything, and ls is available to list out the content of directory, and mkdirs, right? Mkdirs is basically to create a directory, right? Let's say, for example, I wanted to create a directory over here, right? Within the tables, I want to create another directory, right? So those directories we can create our own. For example, if you go over here, you see under users, I didn't have anything, right? So I can create a directory under that, and I can play with that. So only the Hive is by default directory is available, but under that I didn't have anything. So if I want to create my own project specific folders and files, I can use this make directories mkdirs, and then we can do that. And mv is basically helps you to move a file from different directories and all, right? So it's like any if you know already any file system you are dealing with, right? For example, apart from window, if you are from Linux or Unix, so we pretty much have these commands: copy command, reading from reader, ls, all these commands we have. So put it basically writing something to a already existing file, and rm to remove the file. Okay, so some of them we discussed this in our last class, but did you guys tried anything out of this? How to, for example, how to copy a file, how to create a directory? Did you guys had a chance to look into that? Okay, so no worries. So let's deep dive into now. Okay, so let's create a workspace under that. Okay, so now, oh man, shit. Okay, so now let's see copy. I want to copy a file, right, between the directories. Okay, so before I copy, I need to create a directories. So let's create them directories. Okay, this is the problem. Okay, so now, first of all, let's see what is there in it, right? Okay, so mkdir is it will give you the, you need to pass a directory as a string, creates the given directory if it will not exist, right? So what are the directories we have? For let's go back and see that. So let's we go to data and go to dbf, right? So right now it's under hive. Okay, so let's go back. So if you see under file user, uh, so let's say I want to see what is there. Okay, so we have dbfs file store, and we have so on and so forth, right? So file store is the name. Okay, so I want to create a new one. Okay, so what is under users, right? And under users I want to create a new one. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so it's created. You can see the output had come as true. So now let's go back and see. Let's refresh this one. You see, okay, so I have given users, so it's created another directory called users, and under users test demo got created. Okay, so this is the way we can create the files. Okay, so because so user is already exists, it's a reserved directory by the Databricks, right? So you cannot create another user. So you can use users, you can create your own name and so on and so forth, right? So and then you can copy the files between these two for example, you want to move from here to here. Let's say from file store, right? Under file store tables, we have some files. So you want to move this to let's say employee data. You want to move this to the test demo which we just created. Okay, so let's do that. So now let's go back. So DButils. Okay, so what is that to move that? See, kick copy, right? Copies a file or a directory possibly across file systems. Okay, so it's accept from string and a to string. Okay, so let's do that. So right, so we already have a under tables. We already have a uh, right under tables. We already employee and data underscore data dot csv, right? So file store tables, file store tables, right? So this one we need to copy to. Let's say you want to copy to users, right? So okay, so let's run this. All right, so now go back and see. You see that employee.csv been copied, right? So that's how you move the copies, making copies of files and between the directories. Let's say in real time scenario, you might have a default directory to place the files, right? And then you wanted to bring it to your own workspace, and you want to do some transformations with those files. Okay, so you don't want to disturb the original file and you want to use the same thing. Then in that case, you can use these commands to move the uh, data between the directories. Similarly, if you want to know what is the what the file contains. Okay, so you can take a look using the head command as well, right? And ls, we already discussed about this one. Ls is to list the contents of a directory. Okay, so now let's say you want to see what are the different ls, and if you give what is there in here, you see name of the file is employee.csv, and If you want to make it more display oriented, you can see it as well. Right? So if you use the display, you can see it in our own format. So under this, we have a file we just copied, and which is the 16 bytes and this one. Now, if you see, we discussed about metastore, right? So when we were discussing about the concepts, right? When we're discussing about the concept, we also talked about important concepts. When we're discussing, we also talked about metastore, if you remember. You see this metastore. So what is this metastore? The component that stores all the structure information, various tables, partitions, and etc. Right? All the it's a data about data. It stores all the metadata. Right? Now, if you look into our example, if you see the file name which we uploaded, the size and the modification time, everything is coming out. So this is what called the metadata. So whenever you upload the file, what is the size, who has created, what is the modification time, all the related information system would automatically captures, and then it will give you when you can get it that. Okay, so this is called metadata information. Okay, so like that you can use all of the. Okay, so now we discussed about copy, we discussed about ls, we created some directories, right? So I want you to try and do the some hands-on, moving that files and put some files in that there and remove some directory, right? So these are simple commands, guys. It's not a rocket science, and it's not a uh, huge complicated thing. Simple. You have a helper, you know what input to pass, what output you get, and you just do that. It automatically does. Okay, so now see the difference here is you're not writing any code here, right? You're not writing any code. When we discussed in ADF, these are just activities, right? So you used to copy and you used to give the source and sync, and then it automatically copies. Similarly, here it's a DButils utility functions. The API, you need to know what need to be passed and what you will get it, right? So this is theoretically I can tell you, I can explain you in more than one class also what is copy and how it works, but that does not kick in your mind unless you try it, right? I keep reminding saying the same thing again and again is you need to try it, right? So you might be knowing what is copy, right? But unless you try, you don't know what is the input, what is the output you need to pass, right? And you need to have, you won't have that confidence. Okay, so that's where these utility APIs, you need to know what to be passed and what not to be passed and how to do that. Okay, for example, if you see put, and if you have a give the content here, right, in the form of a string, and it basically writes the given string output to a file. Okay, so now you know that put we just puts the output in a file, but unless you try that, you don't have that confidence that how exactly the put works, and what do you need to pass, and you don't remember that. Okay, so it's very important. So it's very important you do that. So now we have a copy and we have a move. So what is the difference between copy and move? Can somebody tell me? So it is a copy is a file or directory, possibly that. This is also moves a file or directory possibly across a file system. So now what is the difference between copy and move? I know you might have used in your in your current job also, you might be copying so many files, you might be moving so many files. Right? So what is the difference between copy and move? So the reference is, if you remember, if you see that the employee data we copied from there, right? So the moment you use the copy, it just copies it makes a another version, and it just copies the content, right? So that means the file what you have copied still it's available in source and destination. But in case of move, what would happen? It just moves that file. For example, I have, if I use, instead of copy, if I used move to move the file from the other tables to here, you would have the source. After that moving, that it will just moves that file, and it won't available after in the source after that moving. Okay, so let's do an example. For example, in the same way, if you want to use it, move. Okay, so now, okay, so we also have employee data one here, right? So let's say I want to move from this to here, test demo. Okay, let's see that. So we don't have employee file store tables, right? Okay, it's hyphen one, right? Okay. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so now go back and see that. Refresh it. Fine. Now you see employee data hyphen one is no longer is there. Why? Because it's moved. It's moved to users test demo. So that is the difference between copy and move. When you copy the file, it will be available both in after the copying. It's still available in the source. But when you moved, it will no longer available in the source. It's already moved to different directory. Okay. So that is the difference between copy and move. And now if you see, so if you see under users, you see both the files are available, right? So this file been copied and this file been moved. Okay, so that is the difference to know that. Similarly, you can try others. You can read from the head. You can use head to read from a table, and you can put some data. You can remove some directory, create some directories, move the files. So all these things you need to do that. Okay, and unless you do that, you can't remember this. Okay, it's not a theory, guys. Okay, you need to do a lot of practice. Okay, so that's about the FS utils, right? So under file system, we have so many things. Okay, so that we covered copy, head, and everything, and some of the stuff you guys need to practice it. Now let's move on to next. Okay, so so we discussed about file system. Now let's discuss about some of the notebook options available. Okay, so if I do this, so let me do that. See, so what is notebooks is notebooks basically it's a utilities for the control flow of a notebook. Okay, so you might be wondering, you can see there are multiple cells are available, right? For example, this is one cell, this is one cell, and this is one cell, right? So now by default, if I run everything, if you see run all cells in the notebook. So if I click on that, all the cells whatever is there, it's automatically one by one it's going to run, right? But what if I wanted to control that? You see the utilities, the control flow of a notebook. So I want to take a control of that. I don't want to run this by default one by one. For example, I want to run this one and I want to skip this one, and I again want to run this one. So all this control I had to take in my own. I don't want to be the default system driven, but I want to take control of that notebook to on me, right? So in that case, how do you do that? You have these notebook options. Okay, so now let's go back and see. Okay, so now if you see under notebook, there are two classes are available. One is exist, another one is run. Okay, so what is exist? Exist basically this method lets you exit a notebook with a value. Okay, so for example, I had run this one. Okay, and I wanted to once I run, right? So once this first cell run, I wanted to exit. I don't want to run. I don't want to proceed further. All the rest of the cells I wanted to skip, right? So in that case, what would happen? You will use this exist. Okay, and then run. So run is another thing. This method runs to a notebook and returns its exist value, right? So now let's say you have two notebooks and you wanted to call the first notebook in the second notebook. That's possible. That's a normal scenario. It's not a complicated. And when you work in the real time, it's very common that you would be working with this, dealing with multiple notebooks, and you will be calling in one notebook in another. Okay, and that is where run will help you. So run will basically help you to uh, copy the run the notebook in another notebook. See, this method runs a notebook and returns a value. Okay, so now let's do a practical.
Sir, one small doubt.
Yeah,
So whatever we are giving the commands are the like similar to Linux command, right? Hello?
yeah. Can you hear me?
Uh, no, sir. Actually, now I can.
Sunita, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Now I can hear you.
Yeah, it's more or less same Linux commands. That's what I gave you that example also, right? So you would have seen in any operating system, any file operating system, you would have seen the same level of moving the files and copying the files, creating directories, and all the removing directory, all the stuff. Any file system, you would have the same kind of a stuff. But it's only the matters is the one that where you are using that, right?
Okay, sir.
So
I got it. The thing is, so whatever you are calling after giving the command, like you are giving the kind of a job of calling. So
mm,
whatever you are getting the result, where it will be stored? Is it stored and connected to ADF, or Databricks it itself is having a own storage, or
correct.
is it storage in?
So right now, see, right now we are all doing moving the files, copying the files, and all the stuff, right? We are not directing, we are not creating any output out of this, right?
Okay.
So if you see, I just copied, move the file from here to here. That's it. So I don't then and the output came true. That's it. I don't want to store this output in a ADLS or anything. We haven't gone there yet. We'll be going soon.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So but before that, before we move over there, I just wanted to you guys understand the how the files Databricks file system works, because see this is kind of a building block, right? Unless you don't know this, I mean, in later it's going to be complicated to deal with these files and all. Okay, so right now we are at the basic level. If you ask me, the step 0 and 1 kind of a thing, where we are dealing with the file, understanding the data breaks, understanding their file system, understanding how we can work with their file system in using the different APIs, right? For example, the DButils API. Okay, so once we understand this file system, once we know how the files comes and how you want to move and here and there, and then now you work with the real the file content.
Okay, sir.
Yeah,
Okay, sir. Got it.
yeah. And if we wanted to divide this into, take an example of our ADF, so this is the different activities that we're doing at the file system level. So once we understand these activities at the file system level, we will move to the data transformations.
Sure, sir.
Okay, so that's what it is. Okay, so now this is what exit. Exit basically it will let you to exit at any given point of time. Okay, so let's say if I run all those things and I wanted to exit at a given point of time, and I want to skip all these commands, you can do that. Okay, so for example, so let me do that. So after this, I wanted to exit. Okay, so if I run everything, let me run. Okay, so now you see, so this command got executed. Okay, and after executing, what happened is, of course, this got an error because the file doesn't exist. That's okay, but you can see command skipped, right? So this is what. So this command did not execute at all. Why? Because I mentioned exit, and after exit it just exited. That's it. Even it didn't execute this helper function also. Right. So this is a way at any given point of time I wanted to control. Right. So it can be possible in real time, right? So you have a bunch of code, your bunch of commands you wanted to execute, but yeah, so after a given point of time you wanted to exit without any, for example, let's say you're expecting a input file, right? So you wanted to process that input file, and you wanted to get that input file and do some transformations over there. Now if the you have written bunch of commands to do that. Now, if the file itself doesn't exist, there is no point of running the entire code and executing that. So, as a first step, you are checking whether the file exists or not. If there is no file, then exit. That's it. No need to continue the rest of those commands. But if the file is there, continue the rest of the things. So, similar concepts you can use using the exit. That's the benefit of using exit. Okay. So now, this is my notebook one. Okay. So let me give an example. See, one of the beauty of these notebooks are they are auto saved. So you will never have a save option over here. You see, there's no save option. Whenever you type something, it's auto saved. Even this is very important to note it down. When you're working in a real time, you change it something, right? For example, you are doing something and you change it something, demo become demo, so it's auto saved. Don't assume that it's you need to save it explicitly. It's auto saved. You see, auto saved. So you have to be very careful while making any changes. Okay. So now this is my notebook and I wanted to create another notebook. Okay. Let me, today is what, 9th. Okay. So now I wanted to call the test one here. Okay. So let me go back. Okay. It does nothing. It just you just some DB just to get the list of files and all. Okay. And let me see that. Okay, now I want to call this one to here. Okay, so remember what is the run? It takes the path, right? Path of the notebook. Okay, so how do I get the path of the notebook from here to there? Okay, so simple. How can, so I want to call notebook test, right? So go to workspace and go to notebook test, and you can see the copy file path. Okay, so now use that and call it over here. For example, uh, that's it. Okay, so now let's go back here. Let's do a print. Okay, print. I am. Okay, so now let's run it. Okay, timeout I need to give. So it's very important to give the timeout. Okay, so let's say I want to use a 60 seconds. Why it's saying please upgrade? So it's basically path and then followed by integer and then arguments map. So we don't have any arguments. That's okay. We don't want to do anything, right? So okay, just accept the path and the timeout. That's it. Okay. So now let's see. So this is my path, and timeout maybe in 100. Okay, timeout seconds, timeout in seconds. Okay, so I might given 100. That's it. Okay, so now if I run, so it's accepting arguments also, right? So let's pass some arguments. So though we don't have any arguments, but yeah. Okay, so don't worry, I will cover this again when we are dealing with widgets, where we need to pass argument also. Okay, so but you understand the concept, right? So this is the way we can call the using the run command. We can call the one call the notebook in another notebook. This is very much possible. Okay, so now the problem is giving is accepting some arguments which we don't have currently. Okay, anyhow, we are going to create a when you're talking about a widget. Okay, I will cover this one again. Okay, but the concept you remain same. Okay, so now so we let's go back. Okay, so we talked about FS. We know how to manipulate the first file systems. We talked about the notebook options, right? And the last one, if you see the widgets. Okay, so what are the widgets? So what is widget? Can somebody? What is widget? Right. So provides utilities to work with the notebooks. You can create different types of widgets and get their bound value. Right. So what is widget? Widget is basically adding an option to my notebook, right? Creating it could be anything like creating a button, creating a text field, creating something so that the user can input some data. Right? That's what called widgets, right? So now, if you remember, this widgets API helps you to create the combo box, drop down, and multi-select everything and text box you can create using these widget options. Okay, that is very much required for it when we are dealing with real time, right? See, you need to, for example, the same thing, the same one, right? I wanted to I wanted to pass an input value, right? So let's say you're calculating some payroll processing and you are required to do the for example the bonus percentage, right? Bonus percentage going to change every year, and that you wanted to pass as a value to your notebook to process it. You don't want to hard code that. So how do we pass that value over here? There is no option at this point, right? So that is where your widget will help you to create those widgets. Okay. So for example, let's say I wanted to, the same example. Okay. So now you can see the different values create combo box. Creates a combo box input widget with a given name, default value and choices. You can create a drop down values, creates a drop down input values and default and choices. And we can create multi select, creates a multi select options. Okay. And we can also create some text box. Okay. So now let's do that. Let's create it as an example. Let's create a text box. Okay. So DButils, and I want to use text, right? If you see text, it accepts name, default value, and label, right? So let's say text name, I wanted to give list uh, city, right? And then what exactly it asking? Sorry, right? It accepts name, default value, right? So default value I want to give daily. Okay, and then label. Okay, so what is the name of that, right? Label is again city name. Okay, so let's create. You can see, there is a widget got created called city name, and the default we have given as Delhi, so Delhi is came out. Now I can change during the runtime. I can change this to Bangalore, or I can change this to any value that I can while running the notebook. Right? That's the purpose. These are the purpose of doing the widgets. Okay. So now this value I can use across my notebook to get the to get this value, and then use use it in my further processing. Okay. So that is where your get option, if you see get, right, this get is nothing but retrieves current value of an input widget, right? You just need to provide the name of the name of the you just need to provide the name, and then automatically the value get going to be derived. For example, let's say I want to use, right? So you can see get, and it just accepts name, right? So name, in our case it's a city. Let's do that. You see Bangalore automatically came it over here. So whatever the value I passed here, it automatically came here. So let's say I wanted to use it as Hyderabad. Right now, if I run it here, you see Hyderabad is came here. Okay, so this is the way we can input that value at the notebook level. All right. So now the another one is let's say I wanted to create a combo box, right? See, it accepts name, default value, choices, and label. Okay, so name equal to list of cities, let's say, and name and default value. Okay, sorry. Okay, I don't want to give any default value. Choices, right? So choices. Choices I can give Delhi, Mumbai, right? And then I can give any label. Okay, so label even if it's not there, that's okay. Now you see, list of cities got created with Delhi, Mumbai, and Bangalore. So I haven't given any default value, so nothing has selected. You need to select explicitly, right? And you can see, okay. So that is the purpose of widgets, and you can create any number. For example, you can we have created combo. We have created a text. You can create a drop down as well, and get the you can create multi select as well. Okay, so we are going to deep dive this in our next class. But the whole concept of widget is to create our own widget options at the notebook level and use those values to process your across do the transformations across your notebook. Right. In other way, if you ask me in other way, I can correlate with this parameterization, right? So when we are doing with the Azure Data Factory, we were creating parameterization. We are creating at pipeline level. We are creating at linked service level. We are creating at data set level, right? So this is the way, and this is the way using the widget options we can create this parameterization at the notebook level. Okay, I think you just relate to each other. Okay, so now tomorrow we are going to deep dive into the rest of those, like how to create a drop down and how to create a multi-select, and then we will use how these can values can be uh, using the get method and get argument method. How these values can be retrieved in at notebook level, and how these can be processed. Okay, so we'll discuss that in tomorrow. All right, guys. So before we wind up, any quick questions? So how it looks like? Is it easy to understand? Is it doable, or do you see a lot of complexity?
Sir, command wise, it's looks like easy, but we have to uh,
Right. It's not a that complex or anything. For example, if you learn C++ or Java, you need to learn so many things and you need to remember so many things, syntaxes and all. But here, nothing. You just need to know which one to call where and when and how, right? But to do understand where, when, how, you need to do some background. You need to understand those terminologies. You need to understand the building blocks. Then only you would able to make a right decision,
yes, sir.
right? Yeah. Okay, so spend some time to read through all these things, and if you want to go back and listen this video again, and then you do some hands-on, and we'll resume and discuss tomorrow with more widget options. All right,
Okay.
guys. Yeah, see you tomorrow.